Last time, we stepped into one of the most disturbing moments in the entire book of Judges, the story of Jephthah, a warrior desperate for victory, a vow spoken in the heat of war, and the terrible consequence that followed. Jephthah promised God that if he returned home victorious, he would sacrifice whatever came out of his house to greet him. And when the battle ended and he returned home, the first person who came out to celebrate his victory was his own daughter. A moment that should have been filled with joy turned into something tragic. A father bound by his own words, a daughter walking toward sacrifice, and one haunting question that echoes through centuries of readers. How could something like this happen in a sacred story? But as disturbing as that moment was, it was not the end of the darkness. Because the Bible does not hide the harshness of the ancient world. Sometimes, it reveals laws and commands that shock modern readers even more than the stories themselves. Tonight, we continue this journey through the darkest passages of Scripture. Welcome to Biblical Mysteries and Stories. On this channel, we explore the hidden, controversial, and often unsettling passages of the Bible. The ones many people skip. The ones that raise difficult questions. The ones that force us to think deeper about history, faith, and morality. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and join this series, because we are in the middle of a marathon exploring the most disturbing stories in the Bible, and tonight's passage might be one of the most controversial of all. It comes from Deuteronomy chapter 21 verses 18 through 21, a law about a rebellious son, a law that ends in something many modern readers cannot believe when they first read it: death by stoning. Let's imagine the situation described in this ancient law. A family is struggling with a son who refuses to obey. He ignores discipline, he rejects authority. His parents try to correct him, but he refuses to listen. According to the text, the parents eventually take him to the elders of the town. The elders sit at the gate, the place where justice and community decisions were made, and the parents present their accusation. This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He is a glutton and a drunkard. The law declares that all the men of the town shall stone him to death. The entire community becomes the executioner, stones thrown until the rebellious son is dead. The text ends with a chilling explanation: "You must purge the evil from among you. All Israel will hear of it and be afraid." Fear. That word sits at the center of this law. But before we try to understand it, we have to face the uncomfortable reaction many people feel when they hear it. Because when modern readers encounter this passage, the first response is often disbelief. Could this really be part of biblical law? Could a rebellious teenager truly be executed? In today's world, rebellious children are everywhere. Every generation complains about the next. Parents struggle with disobedience. Teenagers test limits. It has always been part of human life. But imagine if a law like this existed today. Imagine a courtroom where parents could stand before a judge and say, "Our son refuses to obey us," and the punishment was execution. The world would react instantly. Human rights groups would protest. Governments would intervene, society would call it barbaric, and yet here it is, written into one of the most ancient legal codes in history. This is where the tension begins for many people reading the Old Testament, because the Bible contains passages that challenge our modern sense of morality, and that forces us to ask a deeper question. What kind of world produced laws like this? To understand that, we have to step far away from the modern world. Ancient Israel was not a modern nation with prisons, courts, rehabilitation programs, and social services. It was a small tribal society trying to survive in a dangerous environment. There were no police officers patrolling cities. There were no juvenile detention centers. There were no psychological evaluations or social workers. The stability of the entire society depended on family structure and authority. Parents were not just caregivers, they were the foundation of social order. If that authority collapsed, the structure of the community could collapse with it. And in a small tribal society surrounded by enemies, social collapse could mean destruction. So laws were written with extreme seriousness. They were designed to send a powerful message. Obedience was not optional. Respect for family authority was not negotiable. But even when we understand the historical context, the law still feels disturbing because the punishment is so extreme. A rebellious son, executed by the community. This has led many scholars and historians to ask an important question: was this law ever actually carried out? Interestingly, ancient Jewish tradition debated this passage heavily. Some rabbis argued that the conditions required to apply the law were so specific that it would almost never happen. According to later interpretations, the son had to meet very strict criteria. Both parents had to agree. The son had to reach a specific age. The behavior had to be proven in a precise way. Some rabbis even concluded that the law was written more as a warning than as a commonly enforced punishment, a terrifying boundary designed to protect family order. In other words, the law may have existed primarily as a deterrent, a message that rebellion against the structure of society would not be tolerated. But even if it was rarely enforced, the law still exists in the text, and that forces readers to confront something uncomfortable. The Bible does not sanitize the past. It reveals a world that was often brutal, a world where survival required harsh systems of control, a world where fear was sometimes used to maintain order. And that brings us to an interesting reflection. Many people today believe that modern society has completely moved beyond the harshness of the ancient world. We look at laws like this and feel morally superior. We say, that was barbaric. We would never do something like that. But are we really so different? Today we do not stone rebellious children in the town square, but our societies still struggle with youth violence, crime, addiction, and broken families. Millions of young people grow up without guidance or structure, instead of stones thrown by a crowd. Many of them face different forms of destruction: drugs, gangs, prison systems, violence in the streets. In ancient Israel, the consequences of rebellion were immediate and visible. In our world, they are often slower, quieter, but still devastating. The ancient system confronted rebellion publicly. Our modern systems often hide the consequences behind prison walls, statistics, and news reports. And perhaps that is why passages like this continue to disturb readers thousands of years later, because they force us to look not only at the past, but also at ourselves. They force us to ask difficult questions about authority, justice, discipline, and morality. But as disturbing as this law is, it is not the darkest moment in the Old Testament, because the next story in our series goes even further, much further. In the next episode, we will examine one of the most controversial commands in the entire Bible, a command delivered through the prophet Samuel to King Saul, a command regarding a nation called the Amalekites. God tells Saul to destroy them completely, not only the soldiers, not only the leaders, but the women, the children, even the animals. And that raises one of the most painful questions in all of biblical history. Why would God command the death of innocent children? Was it justice? Was it judgment? Or is there something deeper in the story that many readers missed? In the next episode of Biblical Mysteries and Stories, we will explore the destruction of the Amalekites in 1 Samuel 15, one of the most disturbing moments in the Bible. If this story made you think, if it made you uncomfortable, if it made you question what you thought you knew about the ancient world, then you're exactly where you should be. Subscribe to Biblical Mysteries and Stories and continue this journey with us, because this series is designed to explore the passages most people avoid, the questions many are afraid to ask, and the mysteries that have challenged readers for thousands of years. You've already seen the tragic vow of Jephthah. Tonight, we faced one of the harshest laws in the Old Testament, and next we will confront a command that many people consider even more disturbing. So don't stop here. Continue the marathon and watch the next episode now, because the deeper we go into these ancient stories, the more we realize the Bible is not a simple book. It is a collection of texts that force humanity to wrestle with justice, faith, fear, and the darkest moments of history. And the next story might be the most shocking one yet.